Hey everybody, Brent Wheat, publisher of WildIndiana.com. We're at the 2016 Ford Indianapolis Boat Sport and Travel Show, and we're going to talk with Jeff Koester from Parkside Marine about the great walleye fishing at Brookville Lake. You are apparently the oldest marina on the lake?
I wouldn't say marina, I would say bait store.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been there. My mother and father-in-law opened the bait store day one when the lake opened.
Wow, so you've seen all the changes and how Brookville has developed over the years as a fishery.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and just as a just a general waterway for the public to come and enjoy.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about how Brookville has changed from day one and where the fishery stands today.
From a change standpoint, probably the biggest thing that's happened over the last, I'd probably say 10 years, is the lake has definitely developed. It's gotten a lot cleaner, which of course has made fishing a little bit more difficult, because basically what's transpired is the old conventional spots where people were fishing, the sunlight can now penetrate deeper into the water. Well, it's changed the position of those fish, so instead of them being in a normal pattern, they've definitely readjusted to their environment, and it's made fishing even better, because fish can now see the bait, but yeah, you may also be catching them, definitely in significantly different spots over the course of time.
Well, I think today when people talk about Brookville, I mean, it's a good fishery for a lot of different things, but what's really gotten hot is the walleye. So can you talk to me about the walleye in Brookville?
Sure. Brookville is where the Indiana DNR get the entire brood stock for the state stocking program. That they come every spring and they net some fish, milk the females or milk the males and get the eggs from the females. Then they take them back to a place called Metz, which is the Mounds egg taking station, and they fertilize them. And then once they are fertilized and incubated, then they're transferred to local fishery biology places here in the state for them to hatch and then grow from fry to fingerlings, and then the state then disperses those fry and fingerlings back into different selected bodies of water throughout the state of Indiana.
In your estimation, how is the fishery for walleye today in Brookville?
The fishery overall is very, very good. Lots and lots of fish. I mean, they may be short because we do have a size limit in the state of Indiana, and that's 14 inches. So you may catch a handful of fish that you have to throw back. But the fish are definitely very healthy and doing very well. So it's not uncommon to catch fish that are starting to get into the 18, 20, 22 inch class, and then occasionally, you'll catch some bigger ones. Right. 7, 8, 9 pound fish.
Talk about the pre-spawn and post-spawn walleye at Brookville.
Sure. Right now the fish are basically, they're setting up to do their, normal nature course, and that's they spawn in the spring, and they're looking for, some warmer water. But right now these fish are all staged like in front of the dam, rocky points. Any place that there's a little bit of current, like at the bridges, Brookville, when they drain the water, there's definitely a lot of current going from north to south that people don't have a tendency to notice, but and it'll affect your fishing all over the lake all throughout all 4 seasons. But right now the fish are primarily out on the main lake, staging to go up into some warmer water, rocky areas, going up into coves towards creeks. Any place that there can start being some current.
Sure. I helped the DNR a couple of years ago with the netting, which was a really interesting thing, and saw some really nice walleye come off the face of the dam in the gill nets. I'm sitting here trying to remember the dates. It was early, and I think that's one of the things that folks that aren't avid walleye anglers don't realize is you've got to get out. It's cold when you're walleye fishing. What do you consider the peak of the spawn fishing?
I would say it's going to be water temperature based. Once that water starts to warm up over 40 degrees, things are going to start moving.
Right.
That's usually when the DNR start. I've caught fish as, in a normal winter. I mean, right now it's pretty abnormal winter. We haven't had a lot of super cold weather, so the water temperature has stayed pretty stable.
Right.
We have had some snow and some rain, so they're draining water. So the guys are still catching fish at, you know, a lot of the current areas right now today.
Mm-hmm.
But in a normal season, a lot of times early March you'll be trolling crankbaits along the face of the dam. Definitely lower light conditions, you know, early morning, or just after sunset.
Right.
Is probably some of the peak times.
So then the post spawn comes along. That's tough fishing. When does things start picking up? And that's when a lot of people actually start thinking about going out fishing, because the weather's a little bit better and water temperature's a little warmer. When do you feel like the fishing starts picking up, and when do people really start catching the walleye again?
I think, my opinion, I have most of my success. I mean, I can catch fish. You know, I've had the ability to catch some fish pretty much all season, but
Sure.
most of the time, fishing will start getting better right around the 1st of April. Once that water temperature starts to warm up, those fish have basically moved in very close to shore. They're cruising the shorelines, focusing on bait. Usually that's back in the cove. So there's a lot of times we're back deep into the cove, similar to how you would bass fish. And we're pitching jigs or casting spoons or crankbaits right to the shoreline and catching the fish shallow. Then as the season progresses, those fish move out away from the shoreline, and then they start working their way out to the main lake, and then start focusing on, you know, normal summer haunts.
Right.
I mean, you know, flat areas, rock piles, main lake points, secondary points. The biggest thing about Brookville's a reservoir, and with a lot of experience fishing reservoirs, the fish can be in one spot today. Tomorrow they're in an entirely different spot. So the best thing you can do when you're out fishing Brookville is have a number of different spots. Find a spot that you've caught some fish on, and really take note to say, okay, what's unique about this spot? Is it an old roadbed? Is it a main lake point? Is it a rock pile? And then just try to duplicate that in another area and find yourself 4 or 5, 6 spots, because eventually you'll be able to follow the fish around.
Is there a single or a type of special hot bait that works at Brookville, or pretty much your standard type of walleye lures?
I mean, every angler is a little different. I mean, the primary way most people fish for walleye in Brookville is they'll use a very light jig with just a small piece of night crawler on it, cast it out, drag it on the bottom, and move around real slow at, you know, 0.3 to 0.5 miles an hour.
Absolutely.
To me, I mean, I will fish that way if I am in a pressure situation to catch fish, but that is not my preferred way.
What is your preferred way?
You know, I enjoy trolling crankbaits on the road beds. Plus, you're going to get a lot of action. So it's not just walleye you're going to catch. I mean, you're going to catch white bass, largemouth, smallmouth, catfish, walleyes. You name it, you're going to catch it. But you're basically looking for, you know, active fish, and you can at least have a lot of fun. So if you're taking kids out fishing, you know, it gets a little bit more exciting for them.
Exactly.
I prefer, I'm a spoon guy, which is just a plain old piece of lead with a treble hook on it.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of casting, and I focus 90% of my time in very shallow water. I would probably say 80 to 90% of the walleyes I catch all year long, every season, I catch in less than 5 feet of water.
Really? I'm sure that raises eyebrows. Most people think of walleye, especially in the warmer parts of the year, as a deep water fish. So
Absolutely.
What's your trick to the, or is that just where they are?
Well, I mean, many people have that notion that, okay, hey, these fish are going to go deep. And they do go deep, don't get me wrong,
Sure.
but when they move deep, they're even harder to catch yet. Realize that when those fish are moving up shallow, they're there for one reason, and that's to eat. They're not going up for just a joyride resting. I mean, they are up shallow because that's where the bait is, and they're looking for a meal.
Good point. And then later on, as we get into fall and mid-fall, when it's cooling off, then what do you do for walleye?
In the fall, I focus 100% on main lake points and then secondary points. And if I'm not catching them like out on the main body of water on the points, I will then start to work my way into the coves and focus on, you know, the next main point I have going in. And then you might catch them on just something that looks very, very subtle. But when I start going back into the coves, I'm really paying attention to the shoreline. I'm looking for the point that has the subtle difference of going from dirt to rock, from sand to rock, from sand to mud. Any one of those, you know, key transition areas is where I'm going to spend by far the bulk of my time. I won't start on a shoreline and then just work my way all the way down. I mean, I'll drive right in, say, okay, there's rock right there, sand right there, and I'll work that area. If I don't catch anything, I mean, I'll reel up, I'll pull the trolling motor up, and I'll, you know, work my way down the shoreline until I find another transition line, stop, fish, because those are just going to be hands down the most high percentage spots that are going to hold fish.
Yeah. You're also a walleye circuit competitor. Tell me a little bit about that.
I get an opportunity to fish quite a bit all over the country, primarily North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. I mean, mostly in the northern portions. Scott and I have had a very, very blessed career on the Masters Walleye circuit. We have won a handful of events, the two Walleye Madness events that is a bracketed event, so it's a field of 64 teams that basically fish head-to-head, and we did win that 2 times in a row. We have won the championship or the Super Bowl of walleye fishing. We have won an individual qualifying event, and then in 2014 we were fortunate enough to win Team of the Year, which is, you know, consistency over the course of time. So
cool. So is there anything I didn't ask, or any point you wanted to make, or something that we should know about walleye fishing at Brookville?
Walleye fishing and all fishing at Brookville, I mean, it's simply the 80-20 rule. 80% of the fish are in 20% of the water. And once you start to find that area, again, just I can reiterate, you just want to focus. Grab a map. I mean, we sell them at the store. I mean, and just start looking. You know, you can open up the map right on your screen, or use a GPS that you have on your boat with a mapping program, and you can find those same exact spots at multiple places throughout the lake. I mean, Hummingbird's unit, I mean, you can drill it down, say I want to look for exactly this depth with plus or minus 2 feet, and I want to make it green. And you can plug that component right into your fish locator map, and it will immediately highlight those exact specific locations. So, I mean, it takes a lot of the search out of it, because you can just expand the map screen out and then just go, okay, I'm going to go right there first. Okay, there's another one, I'm going to go there. There's another one, I'm going to go there. So they, you know, some of the electronics today have really become, you know, very, very fisherman friendly.
Well, that's cool. You know, is there anything else, good electronics and obviously a boat? You've talked about lures. Is there anything else that a hardcore walleye fisherman's going to need, in your opinion, you know, to fish Brookville or any place for that matter?
Well, definitely a new crestliner helps.
Okay.
No, there's probably really nothing specific. I mean, some of it, a lot of the time, it's just patience and have the ability to adapt and be versatile. I mean, if you want to focus, if you see people catching fish on a jig and a night crawler, be prepared to do it. If you see people catching fish trolling crankbaits, have enough, be prepared to do it. Have the right baits. I mean, the biggest thing, you know, people use on Brookville, reef runner, rip shads are a very, very popular bait. Rapala, shad wraps are very popular. Berkeley flicker shads are incredibly popular. And they come in every single color you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Natural colors are usually very strong. The biggest tip I can give you is the water's clean, you want to be as natural as possible. If the water's dirty, you want, you know, some brighter colors, fire tiger, things of that nature. Purple for the last few years on Brookville has been definitely a go-to color. I mean, if I have some spoons and some crankbaits ready to go in the boat, there are going to be at least 2 rods that have purple on them, hands down.
Great tip. and good advice for all fishermen. So we appreciate you taking the time to give us the insider tips on the walleye at Brookville. I know you're busy here at the Boat Sport and Travel Show. Has the show been good for you?
It has been. It has been. The interest has been good. Traffic's been pretty steady. I mean, but it's tough to beat it when, I think yesterday it hit 70 some degrees here in February.
Exactly.
And definitely puts a little bit of spirit into some people ready to get out on the water. And people are, the questions are right. They're going, okay, how fast can you have my boat ready? Because I'd like to fish next weekend. So
exactly. Well, it was great to talk to you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks. It was great talking to Jeff about walleye fishing at Brookville Lake. That's someplace I've not fished a lot, but I plan to in the coming year. For WildIndiana.com, I'm Brent Wheat.